And I want to not only touch on Black history, or African American history, but also the poor, working class, urbanized conditions in America, and how the world elite will use those poor, working class, urbanized conditions and citizens to fuel and bring forth a new world order, a more technocratic universe, and bringing forth these smart cities that people are mostly talking about today. They're already building one in New Mexico, and I got a video on my YouTube that goes further into the details of that, of course, which I think is a couple videos back. But again, you should skim through all my videos. There's good information there. You know, Malcolm X, a predominant black leader in the 1960s, who was teaching self-reliance and self-dependence in the black community, also was a Muslim. Malcolm X said that blacks are used as a political football. You know, the Democrats and the Republicans use the blacks for their agendas and for their goals and their aspirations. And, of course, Malcolm X was always known and going in detail, telling you why is that and how come what he's saying is true. And, of course, Malcolm X was always right about when he bring up something like that. Blacks were used as political footballs as they are today. Political footballs. But we also can look into this a little deeper and see how the poor, working class, urbanized citizens in America are used as political footballs. Not only political footballs, they're not only used as some type of game, as some type of ping pong thrown back and forth. You see, they also used as economic and social footballs as well. This is very true. For they use the poor, working class, urbanized citizens and their conditions to further their cause. This is very true. And we can look at the valueness of family, of how the inner city urban citizens and families, how their valuelessness, how they don't value family as much, how it's affecting the suburban and rural areas in America. We can look at the joblessness in the urban inner city. We look at Detroit. You know, we can look at Cleveland. You know, we can look at Philadelphia. You know, the high unemployment rate then affects suburban and rural areas. It's like a disease, you know. Then we can look at the drugs. We know during the 1960s, we had a lot of people fighting for social equality, economic equality, and things in that nature. Drugs were put into the urban areas to diffuse that, to make light of that situation and the circumstances. So in the 1970s and 80s, you came with this drug epidemic. Then eventually it ran into the suburban and rural areas of America, and now all of a sudden they profess drug war, or war on drugs. We can see the influence of music, as in blues, jazz. All this started from the poor people's music, black people's music, poor people's music, working class people's music, you see. Then it affects those in wealthier communities. You know, we can see now at Taylor Swift and a lot of other people that's in pop music look up to a lot of black artists in music, like Beyonce. And we can see how the world elite is categorizing all music, whether it's hip-hop, R&B, whether it's little jazzy pop. They consider it all pop music now. You can go to many stores today, many of your neighborhood libraries, and you have jazz, country, and pop music takes up mostly probably about 3 or 4 genres of music. Then the slang, the jargon, the street jargon in the urbanized, working class, poor communities then finds its way into the suburban, rural areas and their communities. We see then rich kids saying things in the same context as poor kids will say things. And then you also have some of it being documented and validated in dictionaries as if it's now a new word. It's okay to say it now, and to write it down on a piece of paper. And you see magazines saying the same thing. Newspapers may even flash a little saying here or there in proper English and things in that nature. Yeah, we can see how it finds its way into the rich community, into suburban royal communities where they're trying to keep the historical significance of these communities. We then see how they use the poor working class urbanized citizens to fuel their agenda by spreading their ideology, which their ideology is the only way you can really become successful. Of course, you got to make sure you not say certain things. You can't be who you really are, you know. That's why you need public relations and things in that nature, you see. Because when you mess up, you got to go and apologize. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that word. I didn't mean to say that gays are this and blacks are that, you know. Yeah. These people know who they are. They know what they like and what they don't like and who they like to be around and who they will accept in their circle. But they can't be like that when in the nation's eye, in the public's eye, because these people who's giving them power, who's giving them the marketing and advertisement and the influence on others, those who's giving them this power, is giving them this power because they themselves have an agenda for off of their image, off of their celebrity, of course. So we see how they use this. And we can look at movements, whether it be civil rights movement, whether it be the feminist movement. And feminist movement is one of the movements that come to mind because it's so successful. You see, movements, therefore, when they're looking to be successful, have to utilize or find a way to utilize properly those that's in poor, working class, urbanized conditions. They have to. Feminist movement is one of them that comes to mind. Of course, there's many other movements, but feminist movement's been around for decades, and it's doing well to the point now where you could go to college and take up feminist psychology and things of that nature. But we must look at how they use the poor working class, urbanized citizens in our country to fuel their agenda. We must look at that. And I put together a little slide, just a couple slides here, so we can touch on this a little bit. Alright. I have to situate the camera there. Sorry. That should be good. Alright. Okay. Now, as I said before, in order for a movement to be successful, it must properly utilize the working class, urbanized citizens and individuals. The Rockefeller Foundation, indirectly, not directly, but in ways that are secondarily intervening, financed and subsidized the feminist activist Gloria Steinem in her feminist magazine called Miss Magazine. Gloria Steinem and her allies are known for taking the raised black female fist of the 1960s, which was more towards racial, social equality, and made it fit into their feministic ideology and agenda. Of course, this becomes very misleading to American history, to make Americans feel that black women were not as equal as black men, as if black men had the power to say our black women will be second in command, as if blacks rewrote the Bible in the year 1611, the same year King James rewrote the Bible to fit European ideology and principles, while using it to help spread European expansion and European imperialism. As if black women did not have the vital parts, or many vital parts in the civil rights movement. They were sprayed with water hoses, attacked by dogs, beaten with sticks, arrested, and burnt at the branch as well. As if black women didn't pick up the gun with the Black Panthers in the 1960s and said, "No more police brutality, power to all people. White power to white people, red power to red people, yellow power to yellow people, and black power to black people." And we can look at Oprah Winfrey. Oprah is a fixture that was created back in the 1960s, when nobody was allowed in the Chicago area because blacks were burning everything down. This was during a time when blacks were rioting in most of the urban cities, most of the black urban cities in the 1960s. Okay. Oprah Oprah was a weather woman doing the weather for the news station. The station told her to go into Chicago and talk to the blacks because they were not letting whites in without them being threatened of some sort. All the feminists said, wow, wait a minute, we got inroads now because the black community actually trusts her, a female. So they poured money behind Oprah. So she was created. She had all these feminists and elite culprits that had invested interest in her. Whether she know it or not, they were feminists and elite culprits. They worked for the ideology and the agenda of Rockefeller and Rothschild. Of course, most came from Rockefeller's camp and those who were promoting the institutional movement of feminism, of course. These were the people that created Oprah as we know her as today. Okay? She plays a huge figurative role for women in an ultra-democratized society. An ultra-democratized society, ultra-democracy only meaning heightened individualism and a disinclination, not an inclination, but a disinclination to discipline. Okay? Nobody wants to uphold discipline and play their roles anymore. You see? The roles that worked for us for so many years and generations. Now we want heightened individualism. Everybody's individual. Nobody's just a Republican or just a Democrat. Nobody's just white or black. Nobody's just gay. Nobody's just a feminist even. You have many feminists who are, of course we see Oprah here with Gloria Steinem accepting rewards and Obama's behind him giving it to him. Okay. So they're pretty much friends. They know each other. I want to go back here for a minute to the first slide. Back to Gloria Steinem. Because at the bottom we see the black movement, the black civil rights movement, Black Panthers, women picking up the gun, raising the black fist, which Gloria Steinem took and used it for her own feminist ideology and her own agenda. Her own feminist agenda, her and her allies used it for that. Okay, black women were very powerful in the 1960s. We needed them, you know, to make them appear like that they were weak. It's a deception and a manipulation. As we see in the left, in the far corner, in the bottom corner on the right, well, I guess my right, we have women activists in Philadelphia. These women are older women, obviously. They lived during the time of the civil rights, and now they're speaking about black power. They realize today that there's still some racism going on. Okay? And they may be feminists, I'm pretty sure, but they are not the feminists that say we should break down the family. And they are the feminists that say we should endure family and accept the family values. And everyone should know their role in the families, because family is the first foundation we have as a people. And now, according to Aaron Russo, the producer of America, From Freedom to Fascism, while Nicholas Rockefeller was trying to recruit him for the CFR, Council on Foreign Relations, Nicholas Rockefeller told him that his family foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, created women's liberation using mass media control as part of a long-term plan to secretly enslave humanity. He also admitted that they plan to do this by using our reliance and dependence on technology. Now you could just Google Rockefeller Foundation and women's studies, and you'll have a million of citations of information to go by. Okay. And of course, we then can also look at the fact that gentrification, the fact of gentrification. That's when they go into an urban, poor area and try to make it anew, increase police presence. This is a good thing. We see this being done in Brooklyn. So Spike Lee say it's happening in Brooklyn, gentrification, where they're trying to make it anew, increasing police presence, bringing in a basketball team, Barclays Bank, which is notorious for being part of the slave trade. Okay, they made a lot of their money off the slave trade. The reason why it's here today is because of the slave trade. going into Brooklyn and creating Brooklyn, the Barclays Center, Barclays Bank. And then we see how they use Jay-Z to bring in more money into the area. More money into an area, making it new and bringing it to a more update status means increase in taxes, increase in the rent. This then displaces the citizens that used to live in Brooklyn. They then have to go out into more suburban areas or maybe other inner city areas or royal areas, you see. And we can see then in economics we have this term called white flight, where those that appreciated the area they lived in, owning property takes a physical toll on you as well as a financial toll. These people don't want to live in a property and not get a return on their investment. They put too much in it physically and financially. So they leave. When they see the poor whites, blacks, and Latinos coming to the area, who may not appreciate the historical significance or may not appreciate the area as much. They just see it as I'm moving on up. They letting us in now. But we can see how they use gentrification. And this is another way of them utilizing the poor, working-class, urbanized citizens by using gentrification to force them into other areas, maybe more suburban, maybe other inner cities, or maybe royal areas, in order for them to mechanize in the areas that were poor and that were urbanized. Then they eventually, more decades later, they eventually will go into these royal areas and these suburban areas because of gentrification will have led the poor, working class, urbanized individuals out to those areas. They then will go out there and gentrify those areas as well. And this, we could see how they could use gentrification, of course, as a way to bring forth a new world order, the technocratic universe that they've always been trying to bring forth, and these smart cities, you see. So we must understand that they do use the poor, working class, urbanized citizens as a political football, an economic and social football as well. MeetYadini.com, support the cause. Support the cause.